if you want to do a better drawing than me, then this daily drawing exercise subject is the one to use. Now, it's a local chimney on an historic building in the area where I live. It was originally part of Railway Master's cottage. However, looking at my finished drawing, which of course I have the advantage now of being able to do, and looking again at the reference, I can see that I made a couple of inaccuracies in the drawing. One is I didn't make the chimney tall and thin enough. And so the problem is either it's simply not tall enough or it's too wide. But the proportions overall don't quite match up with the proportions in the reference. And the other problem I have is that I flattened the perspective angles as they came down the chimney too quickly, which gave the impression that I'm higher up looking at the chimney than I really am. However, notwithstanding that, it was a great little exercise, a great little 10-minute exercise. In real time, this took me just under 10 minutes to draw, but I must admit I went at a slightly slower pace than I normally do because it was just a nice little subject to look at and I wasn't feeling particularly rushed this morning. But the challenge is the fact that it is a nice little simple drawing, and therefore we have to get the basic lines of it correct because there's not much more to it except the basic lines. And with a subject such as this, then it's going to be our perspective angles. And you can see me correcting that first one I did on the right-hand side almost as soon as I'd drawn it. There is quite a bit of room to make minor adjustments to perspective angles when we've drawn them. Just by shifting one end up or one end down and crossing our original line somewhere can be, in the end, visually much more satisfactory to the eye, even with that extra line there, than by leaving the incorrect line as the only line that our brain has to look at, and therefore all we can do is register that it's not quite right. So I'm looking now at where the blocks of stone end up, and I must admit it's not what I expected. If I'd not observed carefully, I would have put those joins further in. I wouldn't have put them so close to the edge. But of course, I realized that these are particularly thin blocks of stone because this is for a chimney. It's not supporting any weight, and it wants to have a nice open cavity inside to let the smoke out. So things aren't always perhaps as we assume they are without actually looking at them. But really it's a case of working down our chimney, working on the perspective angles, and lining up the lines on the vertical that align. And now I realize that, in fact, I'm not going to be able to put the roof quite the same way on my chimney as in the photo. But these are the sorts of things in a 10-minute drawing exercise I'm not going to worry about. I'm certainly not going to start again, because the whole point of doing an exercise such as this every day is that it builds. I'm not drawing an artwork. I'm doing a drawing that teaches me things, that gives me practice putting marks on paper, that gives me practice at observing, drawing, looking at what I've done, refining, deciding whether I've captured it accurately enough or not. And all of these things build up over time. And because I'm often only doing a small part of something, there's no pressure on me that it has to be right. And so I can become more absorbed in the process, more relaxed about what I'm doing. And then when I critique my sketch afterwards, I can be a lot more honest because it doesn't really matter. I've done it to learn, so I may as well learn from it. And hopefully one of the other advantages of doing practice drawings is that it actually makes us want to do, for want of a better expression, a proper drawing as soon as we can. That in fact we get up after 10 minutes and leave our quick practice sketch frustrated because we feel warmed up now and we want to actually draw further. Now, underneath this overhanging edge, it's not super clear from the photo, but by carefully peering at it and by knowing this chimney in real life, I know that this surface curves out in the way that I've shown. And I've just realized, in fact, that I haven't done the top left corner of the chimney correctly, that there is actually, I can actually see the side. I haven't taken mine out far enough and the angle isn't quite steep enough, which means on my chimney I can't actually draw the part of the side that we can see in the reference photo. So the more I look at my drawing, the more I can see things that aren't quite right. Sometimes when we approach something that strikes us as rather simple, we can make assumptions rather than observations when we draw it. So this little daily practice exercise has certainly taught me a few lessons. So I hope you can learn from that, and you won't have to learn them through your drawing. You can have learnt them through my drawing. And now I'm just going to put a bit of hatching under this overhang to indicate the shade that's there. The sun is reasonably high. There aren't really any shadows here. So everything we're seeing is pretty much in sunlight, except under this overhang. So I take a little more care with my hatching lines than normal so as to keep them within the lines, because it is a fairly neat drawing up till now. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Well, it looks like a chimney, and in some ways finishing our drawing so the drawing itself looks reasonable enough is one goal. But I can't say I'm really happy with this, and part of me really wants to have a better go at it. Maybe I will. But look, whatever you draw and however you draw it, and of course you'll get this photo from my channel community page if you want to have a go at drawing this chimney, make sure you have a good time. I still did, despite the issues with my drawing. But I hope you're able to make a better go of it. So why not give it a go? I'll see you next time. Bye.